Hello everyone, my name is Amesh Manzakani and I am the program manager in Microsoft Office. People call me the Office for Enterprise Deployment guy, so that's kind of what I focus on, just about deployment in general. So today we're going to be talking about all of the updates that are going to be coming into the Office 365 ProPlus deployment and management. There was a blog about a month ago which I posted that talks about, give you a glimpse into every single one of these items that we're going to be talking about today. But today I'm going to go into deeper into every single one of these. But before we start, let's really talk about what's the necessity for these different updates or enhancements, if you will. Let's talk about this modern productivity. What does that really mean? Modern productivity is all about the new way that your users are consuming and producing content to make sure that they are successful in their day-to-day job. So we know there's a whole new set of folks coming out of college, and these millenniums are really coming into the workforce using different types of technology, using different types of, or different ways to communicate and collaborate with their coworkers, whether they're within the organization or even partners who are outside of the organization. So all of that they're trying to do in a multiple new way. Now today, if you were to go ahead and deploy Office, you would actually be able to. Totally lost my train of thought. Can I start over? Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's a little weirder for me not to. I feel like I'm practicing more than anything else.
Okay, can we just like 15 seconds to sign?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Is that me? Oh, that was me. Oh, that's why it's low. There we go. That's a little better.
Okay.
Oh, that helps a lot. Let's see. How are they consuming? Ready? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Amesh Manzakani, and I am a program manager in the Office team. Most folks know me as the Office for Enterprise Deployment guy, focusing a lot on how to get Office from either the cloud, disk, onto devices within your organization. So today we're going to be focusing on a blog which I wrote about a month ago, which talks about deployment and management, some of the updates that are coming up in the next several months and throughout this calendar year. So I want to kind of focus and talk about that in this presentation. But before we get into that, let's talk about what this modern productivity is all about, right? We've heard modern productivity, modern collaboration. I mean, there's multiple words being used for, I guess, almost to describe the same thing, right? We have a new generation of knowledge workers that are coming into our organization that are starting to work in different ways that we've seen, that we haven't seen before, right? They're collaborating using snackable apps. They're using, different types of technologies to really collaborate and create content and be able to share that with others in much faster ways than we've ever done before. And what that really means is, if you look at how we deliver Office today, if you send feedback to us, to Microsoft, about a particular feature that you want to be able to incorporate into Office, we'll certainly take that feature. We'll take that feedback. We'll see exactly what it takes to make it happen. So that's going to take several months for us to do. Then we're going to start coding on it. That's another several months that we actually have to be able to take that and develop it. Then we go through our testing cycles. We go through betas, through early adopter cycles like the JDP, the Joint Development Program, or a TAP, and so on, before it actually gets released. And finally, we get into production. And once it gets to production, that right there is about a 3-year cycle. Then on top of that, we know that almost everybody waits for Service Pack 1. That's another 1 to 2 years beyond that. And then you still kind of wait a little bit more to validate, test, put your project team together, and then finally be able to roll that out, which could take you another year or so to deploy. So the reality is, by the time you gave us feedback to the point you actually deployed, is going to take you, could take you up to a decade. That's a really long time. And while your users now are advancing at a much faster pace, they're going out to different sources to be able to get better productivity tools or snackable apps, if you will, to be able to accomplish those same things that we were able to kind of build. So we had to change our model and start delivering Office as a service where we can continuously provide a new feature, a new update continuously. And to do that, we introduced Office 365 ProPlus, and this is the center of our productivity suite that lets you connect to things like our email calendaring service, or be able to collaborate using any of our social tools that we have, or even using things like voice and presentation meeting capabilities that we have. So all of this is enabled through this Office, through Office itself. Now, Office 365 Pro Plus gives us that ability to be able to quickly take your feedback, be able to then turn it around and be able to deliver it as a real feature. Everything that I'm presenting to you today is actually feedback that we got back at the end of last year, November, December timeframe. And I'm able to turn this around and reduce the time to market down to 6 to 8 months. And we're only going to get faster. That's all great, and we love that story. But we realize there's still a number of challenges from adopting that, right? We have your application compatibility issues. You're using things like, third-party add-ins, macros that are really critical to your business. And when you're using those, updating these on a monthly basis can become a scary thing. And with Office 365 Pro Plus, we've been working with folks like yourself to really get feedback to understand what that really looks like. What are the key problems that you're really running into? So if we look at it, we say, I'm afraid about my applications breaking. How do I deal with things like that? I really need more time to test. Giving me an update every 30 days means I'm deploying once, updating it 30 days, then I got to go back to the board, figure out what you're going to change next, and I got to update 30 days again. That's really tough for me to do. Can you give me a little bit more time, a little more heads up as to what's going to occur there? And give me proper notification, kind of documentation. Like right now, if you go to the site and you go, hey, what's coming up this month? Well, I click on the backstage, show me my updates. I see all these version numbers. I see a whole bunch of different random, links that I create. Finally, 4 links later, I get some documentation that kind of tells me sort of not really what's updating. So help me understand what is coming up. What is my documentation going to look like? And give me better tools to be able to deliver all this pretty quickly and efficiently. I want to get back to my day job. I don't want to update Office every month, and that means all I'm doing is focusing on that, and I can't get to my real stuff to really provide value to the organization. So these are the type of things that we're actually hearing from customers like yourself. And what we want to be able to do is deliver on every single one of these points, right? Additional ones that I'm not talking about here just yet are like better network traffic management. Today, with Office 365 Pro Plus, we'll download the entire update. You can go ahead and do the update. The updates are fast. That's fantastic. But what does that actually, how does that impact your actual network? Could be a problem, right? And then the overall perception of networks are, the overall deployments are really complex. They take me a lot of time. I got to understand what my app compat situation looks like. I mean, there's just so many different components to that. It makes it a difficult thing for me to actually keep up to date. You're not making my life easier. You're making my users maybe easier, but I got to teach them too once I get those updates. So again, this is all the feedback that we've been receiving. And then, of course, we keep on talking about application compatibility. What about my software vendors? How do they keep up to date and then certify and say, yeah, we certify or we're comfortable with this update that Microsoft has just released? So last month, I wrote a blog that provided some information about what's coming up with all these announcements around Office 2016. But what about the ProPlus guys, right? How do we make sure all these things are being addressed? And the beauty of being Office as a service, is that as we get your feedback as to what the issues are, we could quickly go to the drawing board, understand how to solve it, test it out quickly, and then turn it around and deploy it within a much shorter period of time. Previously, if you looked at how we've done updates, you always had to go from one version to another, right? If you went from 2003 to 7, 2007, 2010, that's literally all old technology as soon as we deliver it to you. And what I mean by that is, if you give me feedback on a particular feature, we go, hey, that's a great idea. It takes us several months to kind of, wallow on it, try to figure out what that looks like. Then it takes us another several months to actually code. We go into a beta, maybe a TAP, or what we call a JDP, all these different ways of getting more feedback and trying to tweak and tune it. And then we finally release it. That entire period, probably about 3 years. Then we know you're going to wait for Service Pack 1 before you even actually consider deploying it. That's another 2 years or so, maybe. We try to shoot for 1, maybe 2. Then once that's released, you're still going to wait to figure out what you want to do. So as you start adding all this time up, the feedback that you gave us was about almost a decade old. Where are your users? Your users are way ahead of all of us. So the ability for me to get feedback from folks like you and be able to turn that around is a much faster process. I can now do that in a 6 to 8 month period of time. So everything that we're discussing today is feedback that I got back in November, December. And I'm able to turn this around in a much faster process. And that's only going to get faster, which is going to be fantastic as we really nail down the entire process of what this looks like. How can we evaluate better efficiencies when we're taking in feedback and being able to turn that around as valuable features? So, like I mentioned, last month, wrote a blog that kind of announced some of these different features. We have better network traffic management. We have enhanced distribution management, flexible update management. I love the word that I have management in every single one of these, right? Like, it's just all about management. Because it's not about deployment anymore, because once you deploy, it's done. It's now about managing and how do you update and then constantly make sure you can manage your product and not focus on this version by version deployment. So let's get right into it. So better network traffic management. What does that really mean here? So we talked about the fact that there was a challenge around better network traffic management where you get a brand new update, you would have to deploy or download the entire thing. And if you had this auto update on, especially set up within your organization, whether you're pointing to the CDN or to one of your network, but if you're pointing to the CDN, come Patch Tuesday, that's now advertised around the world. Yeah, we do some throttling that kind of makes sure that we can get 100% of everybody over a period of time, or really short period of time. And we do that so just to make sure all the CDNs and everything is looking good. But if you look at what ends up happening is once your device says, hey, yeah, I see there's a new update. Well, it's not that one device in your organization. It's going to be every single one. So come 9 a.m. on Patch Tuesday, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to download that update. Yeah, we've implemented binary delta compression. That's been fantastic. So now instead of having, if you have your base image of 800 meg, one language, another 200 megs, you're at 1 gig right there. So we're not downloading the whole 1 gig. We're downloading using binary delta compression, just the delta between your current version and the next month's. On average, we've been seeing about a 70% savings there, which gets you down to about 150 megs or so, depending on the month, of course, and all the changes that we make there. But all of that 150 megs times the number of devices that you have is really going to saturate your network. So what our next step that we've done to help solve this is the background intelligent transfer service. We've now implemented that with what you're going to see with the next several updates of Office 365 Pro Plus and as well as Office 2016 is we've integrated the bits feature, where from a single device standpoint, it's going to prioritize the other protocols that are a lot more important, right? So if you're running Outlook, email, whatever it might be, document sharing, other more prominent applications, it's going to dial back the amount of download that it's going to focus on for Office 365 Pro Plus. So that 150 megs is now going to trickle down to your device versus this massive stream that it just hits your device itself. So we want to be a better citizen on the network when it comes to that standpoint. Now, and so again, that's going to be available in the near future with the new updates that we're coming out with the 2016 and Office 365 Pro Plus. We're also enabling this not just from the CDN, but from any place where you put the source. So whether it's your distribution point or whether it's a file share, you'll be able to take full advantage of this. So let's talk about enhanced distribution management. What does that really mean? So we've looked at a lot of our customers that we've talked to. It says, hey, we have problems with update management, and we can't seem to use our existing tools well enough to be able to deploy with that and to make sure everybody's current. So help us out here. How can we do that? So what we're going to be introducing is our ability to integrate better with System Center Configuration Manager. So you guys heard about the SCCM 2016 announcement today. It went in beta. We don't have ours put in there just yet, so don't go running out today. But we will. We're currently coding right now as we speak and focusing on delivering a whole bunch of features that will enable support for things like SCCM 2016. Things like being able to leverage application mode. And when I'm saying leverage application mode, yeah, technically you do that today. But what it does, it downloads that entire set of bits onto your SCCM cache, into your cache folder. And if you do that every month in your updates, it's going to download the entire 1 gig, again, if you're using a base of 801 language. And that's a lot. So think if you're in a multinational organization, the number of languages you have. I mean, you're constantly going to be downloading tons of data on a monthly basis, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're making happen is the ability to leverage the application mode, support that, and be able to get your updates directly from the distribution point. So then you could take advantage of things like bits, binary delta compression, where you get that smaller set streaming directly from that distribution point, and leveraging things that application mode is known for, things like the maintenance windows. I could only update between these certain times. Or if for some reason my update went for a longer period of time than normal, right? On average, we're seeing anywhere between a 3 to 5 minute update cycle. A lot of times even lower, right? Depending on how large the update is. But if say it's stuck for 10 minutes for some reason, you want to make sure you can just kill the job and get back to it at a later time and flag an error to the IT admin so they can go back and identify what the issue was. Installation deadlines. We're making sure that we can force the installation when we need to, because obviously we all know how users work. If they have a little pop-up that's annoying them and they're focusing on their job, which they should be, they're going to hit ignore, 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 cancel, ignore, ignore, cancel. Well, eventually you want to make sure you get up to date, because if there's this critical security patch that you need to be able to address, you want to make sure you can take that and apply that in an appropriate amount of time. And then, of course, software available times. When do I want to publish the actual patch or the update? So we're taking advantage of all these. And again, like I mentioned, things like support for distribution points is the critical thing that we're doing here. We want to download from that distribution point directly. We want to find the nearest one. So if I'm going from Chicago back to Redmond, Washington, I don't want to come back to Chicago to be able to get to my distribution point when I'm in Redmond. I want to make sure I can get it from the nearest one. And then we're implementing a WSUS notification. So this is going to be a little interesting one. Basically, what we're doing is we're going to be able to publish the WSUS, meaning just our manifest, just to notify that it's actually available there, so you can see all the updates that are going to be available. And that's all for 2016. And you see I don't have support for programs, packages and programs. That's more of that legacy model. We were looking into that, just figured, with the application mode, that's the feedback we've been getting from our customers, that's the right way to go. And so we've not been focusing on the packages and programs and just really going with the newer deployment model, that whole user-centric deployment model. And then you can see with SCCM 2012, again, we'll be working towards supporting the application model. And then the support for distribution points, we're currently looking at multiple ways of being able to address that. So I want to let you all know that we are working at it, looking at it, and therefore we'll have to get back to you on whether or not we're going to be able to support it. But for now, not so much. And then our legacy version 2007 for SCCM is something that we're just not going to be able to support at this time. So we're just going to continue with this. So hopefully that makes life a lot easier from an update management perspective. So let's talk about flexible update management. Like, what does that mean exactly, right? What are the issues? And this is going to be, I guess, the bigger one, where we're addressing a lot of these concerns, right? All the way from, I'm afraid about these, frequent updates breaking my applications. I need more time to test. We need more, notification, so on. So what we want to do now is introduce our deferred updates. Now, I talked about this in the blog a little bit, right, where we're going to now start delivering 3 times a year your features, a consolidated and validated set of features. And I'll walk through exactly what this means and what that process is going to look like, right? In addition to that, we are going to continue to give you security. I mean, we're not going to compromise on security. So even though we're giving you your features 3 times a year, if you choose this deferred path, we're still going to make sure that you are as secure as possible, right? So every time we see a security vulnerability, we're notified, we focus on it, we'll turn it around and deliver that to you as we normally would on that Patch Tuesday. So what did I mean by validated set of bits? So I just want to kind of tell you, or kind of give you an idea of what we do at Microsoft and how we're delivering every single one of these builds on a monthly basis, right? So we have this whole concept of our early adopters. These are the ones that when we get that feedback from you, we go back, we sit down, we identify what it is, we work with our dev teams really quickly to come up with a great solution, and then be able to code that and deliver that to our early adopters. Now, this is a small illustration of what that really looks like, right? I mean, we have multiple steps of validation that we use, right? We go all the way into the tens of millions of users to help us validate before we even get out to the market. So these are a combination of internal Microsoft folks, as well as our early adopters who are part of our, just any one of our early adopter programs that we have today. So we go through these different steps of validation. Once we accomplish our first step of validation, we go and send it out to another set of users. They give us proper feedback. We quickly turn around and be able to deliver any appropriate fixes. And then we go to the next step and the next step until we get to a good gate for when we're ready to release. Then we release to our, what we could now call current branch. Now, this goes out to hundreds of millions of users. And this is what you're used to today. You get a monthly build, and that monthly build is, delivered to every one of our users that we have. Now, whether you're an organization and you want to manage it, or whether you're one of our consumers who just has auto update on, this is the channel that they're typically used to. Every month, brand new build, you get the Delta, you get to check it out. Now, what we mean by current branch is, before it goes to an organization, with this new deferred update, we want this particular build that we're going to snap at one point, at the beginning of it, we're going to keep it on that current branch for 4 months. And if there's any breaking changes on that, meaning if we broke a connectivity between Word and Yammer or Outlook and Exchange, we'll obviously quickly address that. And we have great methodologies now that we've shrunk our delivery time significantly. It would take us weeks to be able to build and be able to distribute Office out. Now we've gotten that down, and we're going to continue to drive that down into days and into hours, where if we find a problem, we could take that fix, we could deliver it, and then turn around. So we're going to commit to holding a build for that 4-month period of time, and then delivering that out to what we now call the deferred branch. So all of this is a market-driven quality build. And then your organization can get these, what we call the deferred branch now, to be able to get these type of builds and to ensure that, and to ensure a validated build, right? It's not just us validating it, it's the market also validating it before you would actually get it. So the current branch, like I mentioned, this is something that you're very familiar with today. Every month for the entire year, you get a brand new build, right? So that's not changing. That's the default option that you have right now, and that branch is going to continue to be able to be available to all your users if you choose to go that direction. Again, for the deferred branch, what we're doing is going to be different. And if you look at this timeline, this is timeline for illustration purposes only. We haven't really selected dates as to when we're going to hit this and deliver the first set of branches. But again, as I mentioned, you're going to get 3 branches a year, which has your new features, consolidated features. You're going to have your security updates, and you're going to have any bug fixes. And you're going to get all that consolidated and delivered 3 times a year. Then we're going to continue to service that for the next 4 months, right? Oh, sorry, next 3 months. You're going to get that means you're going to get that refresh of that build with any security patches that we have. If we found a security vulnerability, we're going to deliver that to you. And that's going to happen for the next 3 months. So that build will be in its life cycle for that 4-month period of time. If you have auto update on and you're going directly to the CDN, you will automatically jump to the next one. So in this illustration, you have DB1, started in January, finished in April, and then you go on to the next one in May with DB2, which again would have all your features, security updates, and bug fixes. And that's how that cycle works. If you decide to turn off auto update and from the CDN, you can certainly stay on that build for even longer. And we'd service it for another 4 months. So now you can be on that build for a total of 8 months. Now, one thing I want you to notice here is this part's pretty critical, right? Can you see that? No, okay. This part's pretty critical. What I'm going to show you here is if you're in August and you're on DB1 right at the bottom, and you're ready to jump to September, you have 2 choices that you could make. You could jump on the DB2 bandwagon, or you can go straight to DB3. Now, this DB3, I only showed you 4 months, but the reality is you still have the other 4 months, too. So we're going to advertise or overlap 2 deferred branches at one time. And this is going to continue on through its life cycle. So again, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that, right? Come August, I can jump to DB2. Anywhere in that, obviously you want to get the September version of DB2 because that would have all the security fixes that were necessary. Then, or you could choose DB3, which is a brand new one. But I guess the question would be, why would I go to DB3? Because I'm not sure it's going to be totally validated, right? Well, actually, no. What actually happens now is when we talked about snapping a branch, we talked about snapping a branch 4 months earlier. So if you look at the May DB2, that actually released in January. And we're going to be able to deliver that to you so you can validate it as well as the rest of the market. So you'll see exactly what's coming. You're going to get that heads up. We're not going to give you a last-minute build, say, go figure it out. We're telling you 4 months in advance what that build is. You can touch it, feel it, smell it, play with it, and validate it to ensure that it's working with your environment. And if we see any breaking changes, we're certainly going to fix it. So you'll see those little tweaks, right? And the example I gave you earlier was if there was a connectivity issue. And we'll make sure we address those. We're not going to add new features in there. We're not going to add any, major bug fixes. It's going to be actually, sorry. Let me rephrase that. We're not going to add new features. We will add bug fixes that we think are highly critical. We're not going to add any new ones, but if we did break something, we'll certainly fix it before it releases. So now that you have that 4 months period of validation, you now have your initial 4 months, and then you have this extended 4 months that we're providing you. So technically, that build is going to be alive for a full year. And then you can choose as an admin on which one you want to go to. One thing to note, so with our current branch, which was the previous slide that I showed you, each one of those builds is supportable in market for 12 months. What does that mean exactly? So if I took if I was in the current branch and I was in January, you can call our support line up anywhere between January and December and go, hey, I'm on the January build. Something is wrong. Can you please help me? And obviously, we'll help you out. Not a problem, right? If you call us the following February, we're going to ask you, what build are you on? What's your issue that you're seeing? And if we fix that issue in a future build, we're going to ask you to move on to that build. We're not going to be able to do much support from that standpoint, right? We can only support 12 months at a time. It's a rolling 12 months. For our deferred branch, as you see here, we have in production 8 months. At the 9th month, that branch is no longer supportable. So we're shrinking that support time for deferred updates because we believe it's a much more validated build that we're providing, that we're stabilizing before you actually get it, and therefore we believe that shorter support cycle is a lot more warranted. Meaning that we'll be able to assist better on the future branches, because any of those fixes, any of the feedback that we're getting, any of the features are going to come up to the next one. So we can certainly be able to, help better in the next set of branches that you're getting. So, that being said, let me show you and talk about what that means with the upcoming Windows 10. We have a great story around what we're doing with Windows 10. If you see, we have the current branch, right? There's one branch in the market at a time. We're delivering monthly features, bug fixes, security updates. What Windows is doing is they're delivering it about 2-3 times a year. What we're going to be able to do, we're going to continue as a software on top of Windows, is deliver monthly new features. Security fixes, bug fixes, all that fun stuff. And our deployment technology is going to vary a little bit. Windows is obviously the core operating system, and we have our set, since we're an application, we have the ability to use things like System Center Configuration Manager, Microsoft Intune, and of course, any of your third-party software distribution tools. And we're going to continue to support all of those. When on the deferred branch, you now have the 2 branches, which of course overlap at the 4-month mark, as we saw in the last slide. And then, of course, we're going to continue with regular fixes. Windows is doing the exact same thing. In fact, I believe the Windows session is available tomorrow, where they'll be able to deep dive into this, and so you can understand what exactly Windows 10 is going to be doing. And of course, they're delivering 2-3 times a year. Same for us, we're delivering 3 times. We're going to guarantee once we have our first date that we'll announce, you're going to see that 3 times a year, and we're going to be consistent on those dates. So you have a predictable cycle as to when you're going to receive these deferred updates. And of course, serviceability. In fact, I believe they're doing 8 months. That's incorrect on the slide. And we're doing our first 4 months and then 8 months. And then, of course, they're going to continue with Windows Update for Business, WSUS, and while we'll be able to continue with SCCM, Intune, and, of course, third-party software distribution tools. So what about those specialty systems, right? So we talked about our current branch, deferred branch, and how about the specialty systems that you just don't want to update that frequently? Even 3 times a year is way too much. And what are we talking about, right? We're talking about our air traffic control systems, the oil refineries or just offshore oil rigs, right? Like emergency rooms. Like you need to keep those a lot more stable and make sure there's not so much turn because of the critical nature of those businesses. Well, you continue to use the Office through volume licensing, right? We delivered that today, the MSI, if you will, version of Office. And you saw we announced the 2016 public preview today. So, you can take the MSI version and be able to continue to use those. And that's going to have its traditional update model. We're going to continue to deliver through things like Patch Tuesday for bug fixes and security. We're not really going to do much on features there. Right? You might get the ever so one-off ability to do features, but the whole concept of service packs that we've had in the past, those are pretty much gone now. So if you do get a feature, you might get 1 or 2 new features throughout its life cycle. But again, it's that traditional 3-4 year life cycle and then just the update model. And you're going to be able to deploy that as you have been today. And we encourage you to use those, the MSI, for those type of systems. So let's kind of recap on all this. I know it was quite a bit of information, so let's talk about what that means, right? Current branch. Who do you think we should target those for, right? Like those are mainly your things like Salesforce, any BYODs. Those who are not really using any of your mission critical systems, right? Like I don't really use add-ins for my day-to-day job. And therefore, I can be as flexible as needed for Office. For those who need add-ins, then we'll certainly talk about that, right? So again, available monthly. We do this bug fixes, security updates as well. We get that one branch, and then you can consume it through like the Office CDN or through any of the existing software distribution tools. We service that for 30 days, and what that really means is if we find a breaking fix, so we delivered a update and we broke something because of that update, we will definitely commit to servicing that and fixing that issue. So we'll have to redeploy another build to ensure it's good. And then again, we talked about it's supported for a 12-month period of time. For our deferred branch, these are what we recommend, the scenarios that are knowledge workers, the guys the folks in your organization that really use these add-ins that you want to slow things down a little bit for them. You still want them to be as up to date as possible, but you don't think they should be in the forefront of all of those features. And again, 3 times a year is when we're committing to packaging that and delivering that out. You get your continuous security updates. We're going to publish 2 branches at a time. And of course, you can consume it again via the CDN or through any of the software distribution tools. And then again, we talked about the 4-month mainstream support, which if you have auto update on, you just go to the next branch. Otherwise, you can go into an additional 4-month extended support, and at that point, it would just end there. So that's where we have an 8 months support cycle, but we'll service it for those 8 months period of time. And then, of course, we talked about the special systems, right? Your air traffic control, your factory floor machines, so on. And these are the no new feature updates during its life cycle. Okay, maybe 1 or 2, if we believe it's necessary. Of course, based on the feedback, but we'll continue to make sure it's secure, so we'll provide security updates. And then it's your standard 5 plus 5 year support cycle, 5 years extended support, 5 years mainstream support, and that's what we're going to do from a serviceability and support standpoint. So that's what we have, and I know this is quite a bit of information around this particular topic, but we can certainly talk more. I'll be available later on for a Q&A. We can, and of course, I'll be available throughout the week to really focus and talk about this. So that focuses on our overall update management. So let's talk about activation management. This is one of those things that we've received a lot of great feedback on. And initially, when we built the product, we said every single user can now deploy Office 365 Pro Plus on 5 desktops, whether it's PCs or Macs. They can deploy it on 5 tablets and 5 smartphones. So you got 15 devices that you can deploy on. And so then we started getting a lot of questions. Goes, yeah, well, what happens if I get to my 6th device, my 6th desktop? Well, you get an error, right? You'll get an error, and you'll go into RFM, and then your user would actually have to go back into their Office 365 portal. They would have to sign in. They'll see all the 5 that they have, and they would have to deactivate, and that would be it. Then they can go back to the device, and they have to activate. Well, based on the feedback we got, that's quite a few steps, and they have to understand the whole user portal and that whole process. So we understand there's a cost associated with calling the help desk or calling the admin when it comes to a situation like this. Then there's another cost associated for that person to be on the phone for a duration of time. If you walk that user through that entire process, you're going to be on the call for, depending on whether or not they're able to get through that process. So what we're doing is we're going to make activation management much easier. And what we're introducing is the Office 365 user activation management feature, which now an admin from Office 365 can go directly into their admin portal and see what devices are activated. So we're helping reduce the amount of time the person on the phone or the admin on the phone has to spend with that particular user to help out with this issue. So if a user calls up and goes, hey, admin, I, for some reason, can't sign in, great troubleshooting step, right? And I'll show you exactly what this looks like. So you'd log into your Office 365 portal, right? What you'd see if you look kind of on your right-hand side here, we have this Office installation. You'll be able to click on that and quickly see what the user would have seen when they click on their user side, right? You would see their computer name. You would see things like their operating system installation dates. They're all displayed right there. You got their remaining activation number, right? For this example, you have 3 left. Now, one thing I want you to notice, I mean, you probably have already, is the computer name. We've obfuscated it, right? We know certain countries have a privacy issue where you really can't show the entire computer name. We've had some people get, they would go home, they would install it, and all of a sudden you'd see this name pop up which does not conform to your organization policies. Could be a good name, could be a bad name, I can't really tell you, right? But that could be a problem in certain countries, so we've gone ahead and obfuscated that. So if you have a naming convention that you use today, you can certainly be able to do that. Now, we haven't, this is this default that we have available, and that's currently what it is. The other thing I want you to know is this not only shows you for just the Office desktop, it will actually show you information about Visio and Project Online as well. So Visio Online, Project Online. All of these 3 products which are deployed through Office 365 Pro Plus will actually show up here. So it'll help reduce the amount of activation errors that you're or troubleshooting that your user can get into. Now, if you ask me what about tablets and smartphones, well, we technically don't have a full restriction on that today. We will soon, and therefore we don't show that here, right? So once we start having that, you're going to be able to manage it from the same location. But right now, we're starting purely with the desktop. The next thing we've been getting a lot of feedback and questions from is, how about my entire consumption for Office 365 across my organization? Can I get a report on that? This is great from a user standpoint, but how about if I just take it a step higher or go a little higher and see my entire consumption? So that's something we're currently working on. I think we'll have some more news about that tomorrow morning, so go check out Julia White's talk and you'll hear some information about that. But this right here is going to be available sometime, I believe, soon. So soon being is, I think in the next 30 days, you're going to see this light up in your Office 365 tenant, so you'll be able to see that. So that being said, if you go ahead and click on the deactivate for that user, you'll see pretty quickly it's deactivated. They can now go on to a different device and go ahead and activate that and go from there. So, that being said, next steps. Go ahead, download Office 365 Pro Plus or the Office 2016 preview. We currently have most of the stuff in the preview, meaning we have the preview right now. We want you to go and test it. And a lot of this stuff, like I said, is going to be lit over the next several months in those builds, and you'll be able to have those, every single feature that we have announced today. And yeah, go from there. Please fill out your evaluations. Definitely want to know what you guys think about the session, if we should continue to have these type of sessions, so very important for us. And then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So, any questions? Everybody got the information? We're good?
For the deferred branch stuff,
Yes.
if I interpret that correctly, and I'm not sure if I do, feature updates that occur in a build on the deferred branch will come at least 4 months after they're available on the current branch. Is that true?
So if you, let me go back to the particular slide.
I'm referring because I thought I saw you said it'll be available for those to validate 4 months in advance.
That's correct.
So I'm interpreting that as current branch will get it.
Current branch will certainly get it first, yes. So current branch will get it, and so let's look at this example here, right? So if we're on DB1 and you're getting ready to go to DB2, so current branch will actually get that in January. They'll get their build in January. We'll go through a full market validation, and then we're going to be able to declare it as production.
So all the features in build DB2 will be available in current branch customers in January.
Yes. So if current branch gets a new feature set, say in February, you're not going to see that in DB2.
Okay, got it. So it's 4 to 7 months.
4 months. 4 months.
In February, like the new internet smelling feature in Skype for Business.
Yep.
That comes out in February. That won't be, in this example, won't be available for the deferred branch until DB3.
That's correct. So if there's a new feature that comes out in the current branch in February or March or April, you will not see that light up for deferred branch until DB3 in September. That would be the next available time, because we want to make sure we're giving you a lot more stable, validated build before you can deploy it within your organization. Yes?
So is it also, it looks like it's supported, I want to go, I can be on a, get security updates through these builds for 8 months and still be supported, where I only have to get build and feature updates every 8 months if I so choose.
That's correct.
Okay, and then if I want to be able to validate what's in that, in this case DB3, I can do that 4 months in advance of it coming out.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, certainly. Questions? The question was, is this the Office 365 downloaded just from the portal? Well, it's the ability to use any of your management tools. So the best practices here, especially for this, would be download it internally, using our Office CDN, using things like the Office deployment tool. You'll be able to download that validated build or the production build, and then be able to test it from there and distribute it within your organization versus deploying or distributing directly from the CDN. So it's your choice. So it's certainly flexible enough to choose where the source lives for the distribution. The question is, do we use the Office customization tool? That's going to be more to customize how Office is shown once delivered. The Office deployment tool is all about packaging and then using one of your deployment tools to actually deploy or update those endpoints that you're servicing. So the question was that you had read that or you're trying to find out if it's true or not, that you'd have to install everything versus just one or two of the applications. So with the Office deployment tool, in fact, I have a session on that on Wednesday on the different ways of deploying and updating using the Office deployment tool. The Office deployment tool actually gives you the ability to exclude applications. So if you want to deploy, say, 4 out of the 10 applications that we have today, you could certainly exclude 6 of those. And it's up to you and how you want to package it and then deploy that. But yeah, certainly I have a full session around all the different features and functionalities available for you to be able to customize that particular package before it gets to your users. No problem at all. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. So some of my customers are worried to enable like automatic updates today. And this is going to resolve some of that worries. But do you have some insights about how much problem there really is with automatic update versus not updating?
Well, I mean, the reality is, and a couple of things that we're doing, right? One is automatic updates just says, hey, we're going to give you the latest version of Office. Every time you give us new feedback for a new Excel feature, Word feature, things like co-authoring, right? If you are a ProPlus user today, you obviously have a number of features that we're delivering. Come later this year, you're going to get all the features that we've been talking about Office 2016. That's also going to come through an update, and that's going to be lit up for your users. So if you want to continue to be up to date, that's the best method of being able to acquire it. Now, using automatic update, I think that's a kind of a tricky word there, right? When I consider automatic update, that's my pull mechanism, right? I'm a device. I want to go figure out where the update is, and I want to pull it. By default, we have automatic update turned on, and it's pointing to the cloud, the Office CDN. We go check every once in a while, and we go, hey, is there an update there? An update there? And yes, hey, there's an update. I'm going to grab the Delta, download that, and I'm going to install it on my device. Awesome. What happens if I have that, this critical applications, macros, line of business applications? Like, is that going to break it? Because traditionally, everybody's used to trying to be able to, validate those. And you got to check everything. Because if you're using a critical piece of software on Office and you're using Office as a platform, if that breaks, your user's down. And that's a problem for your business. And we can't make that happen, right? So what we recommend in that sense is, one, go to deferred branch, slows you down. So the changes that you're going to get are a lot more consolidated, and they're highly validated, right? It's not just us validating, because typically, most of the times in the past, it's always been Microsoft validating. And we haven't had a good feedback mechanism of going, hey, something broke here, can you go fix it? Like, we haven't done a great job on that in the past. I mean, we've done a good job, but it hasn't been a great job. And I think now with this, we're going to, get everybody's help on this to make sure we can deliver these validated builds to your organizations. So by consolidating the features, by giving you that 4 months advance heads up, you can then be able to validate on your time whether or not they work well with your applications. ISVs can also grab this and be able to, so we're working with them to make sure that they can take a look at the deferred branch and go, yep, DB2 is great. We like that one. DB3 is great, or we're testing DB3 right now. Come back to us in 2 months. And we're working with them to ensure that they're also going to be able to go, yep, it's fantastic. And this way you can have a lot more confidence that the builds that you're receiving for these critical line of business applications are going to continue to work with no issues at all. So eventually our goal and our vision is for you guys to be hands-off on this, right? This is the first step of us getting there, is by being able to take, we got the always up-to-date down. I think we're good at that. We can deliver monthly bills pretty quickly, pretty easily. But now it's all about delivering really validated bills that you're confident in, that will ensure that it works with your third-party applications, your in-house developed applications, all your macros. And you can be able to validate those way ahead of time by getting, one, better documentation, early access to the bits, and then being able to test the right things instead of randomly testing, because that's kind of the feedback that I've been getting. I don't know what I should test, so I've got to test everything, or I got to randomly test. And then I'm afraid if I only randomly test, did I test the right things? So it's all about great documentation as to what we're going to change, showing you those bits so you can, take it and put it in your organization for 1, 2, 5, 10 users, and then being able to go from there. Any questions? Okay. Oh, yep.
And it's only for Office 16, right? So
I'm sorry?
it's only from Office 16 that this will start.
Well, so there's the Office 16. Yes, all the bits that are coming for updates to Office 16, this is where this is going to start. So that's going to be later on this year, and we'll be able to deliver that through a basic update. So that's how you're going to acquire it, if you're currently deployed on ProPlus today. Okay. Well, that's the end of my session then. We have quite a few sessions coming up this week around Office 365 ProPlus. On how to update it using, System Center Configuration Manager, how to actually use the ODT. We have another session called Updates, just focusing purely on that. Demystifying your deployments and or having it, I think it's called having it your way. So showing you the different options and configurations, all going all the way through the identity to full deployment and update management. So we have quite a few sessions around Office 365 Pro Plus. We certainly encourage you to attend all of them. We have every single one of these recorded. So if you're not able to get to them, you can certainly go back to them. And of course, a lot of us will be at the show floor. So come and ask us questions, and we'll be ask the experts. Thank you very much.